So, same thing as the fire starter video. I'll be taking into account megas and exclusive forms, mostly for the sake of consistency. This is gonna be basically formatted the exact same as the last one. We'll be taking the grass starters this time around though, because the longer I can go without talking about a bulky water, the better off I am overall. And I can feel it lurking. Slowly but surely. Swampert from Gen 3 OU is approaching my doorstep with intent to tell me about this really neat tournament that I've already been turning into since it started. With that out of the way, Mist Magius, Heartgold, Randomizer, Hardcore Nuzlocke, link in the description below, and with that, let's get right into it. The Decidueyes. I think the Decidueyes suffer from the same issues. Yeah, they look bulky on the surface, but then their types completely take away what little bulk they can claim to have, and they're just sitting ducks to attacks. Or, well, owls. Now, this wouldn't be an issue if they clearly weren't both geared to be offensive threats with their big meaty attack stats. Now, the issue with these stats is their speeds. I find it to be comical how badly the Decidueyes have it, because even with the Alolan one having Sinister Arrow Raid, it doesn't really make up for the fact that Decidueye's stat spread is really confusing, and both of these birds have Alolan Speed Tier Syndrome, where they're slower than they should be for no reason. Their bulk probably would be serviceable for making use of Roost to keep it going in the midst of swords dancing and using their attacks. But due to their typing having approximately a billion weaknesses, their speed and their would have been serviceable on a water type bulk really makes them horrifically designed. Speaking of which, Septile. So, Septile probably would have just been lower than the Decidueyes if it didn't have this Mega that gave it basically an immunity to Thunder Wave and a neat Dragon typing that allows it to stave off vicious fire attacks at the cost that Ice Shard turns from a threatening button to something that would turn into a popsicle if it so much as made contact. Heaven forbid that Septile ever has a nasty run-in with Frostmoth, who, due to being bug and ice, is quite literally the worst nightmare. And ice skills effectively doubling its special defense doesn't help matters at all. Regular Septile is pure grass, which is bad, with less than serviceable bulk, and it's kind of carried by its speed tier. The only set I've ever seen be optimal on it to any degree was Subseed, which really goes to show how bad Septile has it. Mega Septile, on the other hand, is just kinda mediocre. Yeah, base 145 special attack and speed sounds amazing, and the increase to its attack is pretty solid too, because that allows it to play a real mixed attacking set, and Swords Dance helps that case tremendously. The issue is that Lightning Rod, even if it is a nice ability on paper, in practice, this ability sucks. And its stats look good on paper, especially with Swords Dance and Dragon Dance to make Septile a mixed attacker. But in practice, this Pokemon somehow finds ways to be easy to wall and easy to revenge kill, and it really just feels bad. Focus Blast is strong, but can miss. HP Fire is accurate, but really weak. Dragon Pulse doesn't hit that hard, and your strongest non-Leaf Storm attack is Energy Ball, which doesn't have the same impact as, let's say, to use another dragon instead of a grass starter, like for example, Mega Altaria Return. Sure, you could run stuff like Leaf Storm, Outrage, Earthquake, and either Swords Dance or Dragon Dance as a mixed attacker, but at that point, it feels like you're better off just running any other mixed attacker, and preserving your Mega slot for something with more immediate power. Unless you really like Septile that much, in which case, I hope you win. I know this looks bad, saying that Meganium isn't the worst, and that it's somehow better than Mega Septile and the Decidueyes, but I have a genuine reason for this take. As we discussed with the Decidueyes, their stats are just wrongly placed. They're both slow and frail while having a bunch of weaknesses to boot, and they have no real way to get off the ground. Their stats do not mesh with their game plan. Septile, even with the Mega included, just doesn't hit hard enough without a massive downside. Meganium's stats actually mesh well with its game plan. While it will most likely toxic when it comes to Gen 9, which will make it still pretty bad. And in terms of a defensive grass type, it is outclassed, but it still has the stat mesh with its game plan. It can set up screens, do lead seed stuff, and can actually tank hits and be defensive, unlike the last two who are supposed to be offensive but just don't do it. Meganium has the tools to make use of its stats, and that's why it's so high. Now, do I think it'll be worse than Sceptile and Decidueye once it loses Toxic? No. Because the metagame where it doesn't have Toxic will be the same where Sceptile can't Mega and Decidueye can't Z-move, which means Sceptile will be stuck on trying to do Subseed sets, and Decidueye will just be getting KO'd due to its slowness and many weaknesses, while Meganium will be taking hits, setting up screens, hitting Leech Seed, and being annoying to fight in lower tiers, presumably. With that said, Meganium itself is still bad, although Terra Water will make it less so if you're that committed to it. Chestnut. Yeah, I got no problem saying it's better Meganium. Probably. Yeah, its typing is defensively horrendous, even though this was meant to play like a bulky offensive tank, which is unfortunate. But the difference here is that Chestnut's got actual results under its belt. Yeah, Meganium being good in Gen 2 OU was nice, but Chestnut's results are more consistent, albeit in the lower tiers. And it's also got more stuff to work with. It's got Body Press, it's got Spiky Shield, it's got Spikes. And then if you want, you can do stuff with Bulk Up, Belly Drum, Drain Punch, and whatever other nonsense the Chestnut player in question feels like coping with as they hop onto ladder, not playing the consistently solid Spike set and saying, today's the day I get my sweep before being forced out by the nearest Iron Jugulus, Flamigo, or Armarouge, who all happen to be pretty commonplace in the RU tier last I checked. But hey, it's at the very least got a role that it can net some results. So, I'm proud of it. Torterra is one of those Pokemon that would have greatly been lower if the DLC didn't arrive from the heavens with the sole purpose of giving it Shell Smash and Headlong Rush. Literally just that, and now instead of sitting there and using Curse and dying to a lightly cold breeze or a well-timed special attack stat, it can instead boost its speed to outrun any non-Scarfer and blitz through them with brute force. We've been waiting for it to get this move since Blastoise got it in Gen 8, and the day has finally come. Turtle Power. Yeah, Terra is a big help, but even without it, the ability to Shell Smash and access to Focus Sash has given Torterra the power to basically blitz through an unprepared team. And that has given it more viability than the other starters have had in mostly their entire lives. Keyword is mostly, since these guys had their niches in past gens. But now, it's Torterra's time to shine. With Bullet Seed, Headlong Rush, Shell Smash, and Rock Blast, it's most definitely going to at least an RU alongside Chestnut. Serperior. Well, my job is suddenly a lot easier with this one. I don't have to go into moves or sets or any of that. I just have to say, Contrary Leaf Storm, and then move on to the next segment. Coming up next, we got Venusaur. And Venusaur is... Wait, hang on a second. What? What do you mean that wasn't good enough? You want actual specifics? You're telling me that Serperior has more than one move? That's completely preposterous. Ugh, fine. I'll reverse this audio and go do research. Okay, so I guess it runs the most annoying set ever with Glare to paralyze the opponent, Substitute to bait out a paralysis chance for that one free turn, and then Leech Seed or Giga Drain alongside leftovers for sustainability, so it can keep doing this over and over again until it gets that free turn to spam Leaf Storm, but with extra steps. Alright, fair enough. That set is pretty annoying. For the people who just want to play offensive Leaf Storm Spam Snake though, just run Dragon Pulse, Giga Drain, and then either run HP Ice or eventually Terra Blast Ice depending on which generation you're using Serperior in. Venusaur. Now Venusaur is a rather interesting one, mostly because it's got basically two ways you can play it, assuming you're playing Gen 6 or 7. I actually don't know what the Dynamax Venusaur does, and I don't believe it got the same results as Charizard did, so I'm just gonna judge it off of its Mega and its Chlorophyll set, because that's what I am the most familiar with. But Mystic. What about Sleep Powder and Swords Dance with Power Whip and Earthquake? Okay, yeah, I guess that's a set. If you like not getting access to Weather Ball and Earth Power to beat the steals that completely wall whatever you just tried to pretend exist. But back to the topic at hand. Mega Venusaur is a really solid offensive tank that can run a pretty solid kit, all of which is threatening. The only move you're outright forced to run is Synthesis, and everything else can basically be whatever you want. Earth Power, Giga Drain, Sludge Bomb, Leech Seed, Protect, Toxic, or some strange mix of all of these is a perfectly valid way to use your giant flowery plant. The Sun Enjoyers, meanwhile, don't have to think too far, because they're just gonna run Growth, and then some combination of Weather Ball, Earth Power, Sludge, Energy Ball, or Giga Drain, and then this neat Life Orb to really tie it all together, all while praising the sun and feeding their Torkoal extra treats. One could make the argument that Venusaur is totally better than Meowscarada, and I would be willing to believe it. However, what makes Meowscarada better for me is that, unlike Venusaur, who lives and dies by the sun, or can't hold an item thanks to its Megastone, Meowscarada doesn't live by such restrictions. Meowscarada can run any set in any weather with any item and then still be good. You want to play a Spike Suicide lead with Overgrow boosted Leaf Storm and a Focus Sash? Go ahead. You want to play a Revenge Killer with Life Orb and Sucker Punch? Go for it. You want to use a Choice Scarf or Band and make use of Protein boosted U-Turn, Knockoff, Flower Trick, and a fourth move? No one can stop you. Want to just play Heavy Duty Boots and then a mix of everything I just mentioned? I mean, go right ahead. That's still optimal. Meowscarada simply joins the battle, plays however it wants, does whatever it wants, refuses to elaborate, and then leaves, all while making sure to Flower Trick Greninja on the way out because it outspeeds with a 123 speed compared to Greninja's 122. Truly a sad day for frogs. Rillaboom. I mean, yeah, there is no easier Pokemon to slap on a team than Choice Banded Rillaboom with Grassy Glide. I cannot think of a single Pokemon in existence that is easier to put on a team than better Tapu Bulu. You just make a set of Knockoff, U-Turn, Grassy Glide, and your choice of either Wood Hammer or a fighting move, and then you're set to go with your Choice Band. You threaten everything, you pivot, and you provide recovery for your grounded teammates all in the same slot. This is why Sneasler had to be banned in Gen 9 OU, because with the Grassy Seed, it just became too much when partnered with Rillaboom. Funny thing is, you don't have to run Banded if you don't want to. Leftovers, Life Orb, and Grassy Seed are all viable items on it, on the off chance you wanted to play Swords Dance and hit even harder than the Choice Band variant after one turn of setup. Sure, you'd get less time to spam Grassy Glide, but in exchange, you get more buttons to hit in one sitting, and you get to hit them really, really hard. However, I will always gravitate the Choice Band because caveman me no think. Assault Vest exists, but I wouldn't run it myself. Oh, yeah, and Gmax Rillaboom, exists. But it doesn't use Grassy Glide, so I don't really care. Use your Gmax on something else, like Lapras. Yeah, Lapras, yeah. And that's it for the day. Normally, I like to lead the video with a question or some sort of quippy joke, but I can't think of anything. So I think I'll just go outside and touch some grass. I haven't seen the sun in a while, and I think I need my own chlorophyll boost. With that, y'all have a wonderful day. And remember, don't think, only Banded Grassy Glide.